I was the woman my elders warned me to become only after the storm hit, quiet strength wrapped in a smile, while my husband Jeff chased applause that didn't love him back. He thought I was just building another product, but I was closing a $12 billion deal that would change everything. I kept it secret, hugged it like fire, praying it would warm us, not burn me. But love without honesty limps, and his eyes began to wander where his vows could not follow. One evening his phone lit up with the name Jane, and my chest learned the taste of lightning. That was the moment I knew storms do not always come with thunder. Before we go deeper, where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more. I'll tell you this as your sister. The heart whispers before it breaks, and I ignored every whisper. Jeff smiled, kissed my forehead, and left for a supplier meeting smelling of cologne and new lies. I packed kindness into a lunchbox he refused, then packed suspicion into my pocket where it hummed. Work called and the empire would not build itself as I walked into glass doors shining like promises. My head was high, but my throat stayed tight like a drum stretched too thin. By midday the room tilted like a careless boat, letters slid off my screen and the floor rose fast. Someone shouted my name, then sirens wore white coats and I woke to a ceiling counting my breaths. Mama held my hand, blessing me in whispers that felt like rain on dry soil as I fought to stay steady. Jeff arrived late, tapping his watch and asking if I had signed pending documents with a bored sigh. I asked if he would stay, but he said he had appointments more urgent than my heart. The nurse straightened my sheets while my faith quietly straightened its back for me. Night stretched thin as fishing line with voices tangled outside my door. Jeff low and urgent and a woman sweet and sharp. She said hurry, and I knew love had turned into a knife pressed at my ribs without mercy. The next morning he brought a folder, not flowers. His eyes too weak to hold mine steady. Just signatures, he muttered, pushing papers that smelled of endings and fresh perfume that was not mine. I read the word divorce and felt a quiet I had never met before in my chest. I signed nothing and studied everything. His ring loose, his courage even looser. When my lawyer arrived at dusk, Hope wore a measured smile and carried a future in a briefcase just for me. Congratulations, he said softly. With this you are the majority owner, valuation confirmed at $12 billion. My hand steadied as my soul exhaled and my prayers finally stood up straight and unafraid. I signed the deal that did not need Jeff's blessing, and instead I blessed myself with silence. I stared at the window and saw a woman I was finally ready to protect from betrayal. The moon kept watch as my grandmother's proverb returned. When a snake sheds its skin, it chooses life. Days melted like wax in a hot sun, each one heavy with whispers in the hospital corridor. Mama stayed by my side telling folktales about snakes who betray and lions who rise again. Jeff visited less, his excuses thin as paper. His eyes always searching for something beyond me. On the fifth night I heard him say to Jane, "She's weaker than I thought. The doctors say she's not improving." Jane's laughter sliced the silence. "Hurry up, you promised me." I turned my face to the wall and cried where no one could see. Morning arrived with Jeff dressed sharper than truth, folder in hand, voice clipped like a banker. He said, "Sign these papers and be done with it." His eyes skipping over mine as though ashamed. My hands trembled but my face was stone while I flipped through the pages and saw the word divorce. Why, I whispered, but he didn't answer, only left the pen on my table like a dagger. Mama came in moments later and wailed at the sight, her tears filling the room like rain. But I lay still, empty, learning that silence could scream louder than words. That night my lawyer came, briefcase in hand and hope stitched into every line of his smile. "You're almost there," he said, "one signature and the deal is sealed, $12 billion confirmed." I steadied my hand, ignoring the ache in my chest, and signed a paper that Jeff would never touch. Something fierce woke in me that night, not just hope but vengeance wearing the face of calm. I looked out the window at the city lights and whispered, "I will rise again." Mama's quiet sobs turned into prayers, and I let them wash over me. The hospital room became a cage where my thoughts paced like wild animals, restless and unforgiving. Jeff didn't call, not a single word, not even his family reached out. silence thicker than shame. Old friends sent shallow texts saying you'll be fine, he'll regret it, but their comfort felt like empty echoes. Mama begged me to fight for him, to beg, but my heart had waved its white flag already. On the third day the nurses whispered as I passed, eyes heavy with pity but also respect. They saw a woman too quiet to break, too steady to fall apart. On the fourth day Ruth, my oldest friend, came in fierce, her hand gripping mine like iron. "Don't you dare let them see you crumble," she said, her eyes blazing like fire under storm clouds. I tried to smile and said, "I'm not broken, Ruth. Just tired, only tired." "You're stronger than this, stronger than him," she insisted with a voice that cut through my fog. I nodded, though I didn't believe it yet, my chest still hollow from betrayal's claws. That night I heard the moon whisper, "Strength is not what you show, it's what you choose." Sleep ran from me and I lay listening to footsteps sneaking closer. Not Mama, not Ruth. The door cracked open and Jeff entered with a plastic bag. His face guilty but nervous. "I brought food," he muttered, setting it down, his hands fiddling with a loose ring on his finger. "Thank you," I said, calm and steady though my blood burned like coals in my chest. "You should sign the rest of the papers soon," he urged, eyes darting away like a thief. I asked, "Is Jane worth it?" And silence wrapped itself around the room. I could have screamed, I could have begged, but instead I swallowed pain like bitter medicine. He turned away, voice strained, "This isn't working anymore, please don't make it harder." Harder, I thought, as if betrayal wasn't already carving scars into my soul like stone on glass. "You could have just told me," I whispered, but his footsteps walked out without another word. I lay awake for hours replaying every night, every birthday he forgot, every dream I carried alone. My marriage unraveled in slow motion, threads breaking until nothing was left but ash. My phone buzzed the next morning. "Lawyer again, the board needs you by video call at noon." Weak as I was, I asked Ruth to bring my laptop and files. I refused to look broken. At noon my face appeared on screens, my hair pulled back, my eyes steady despite the gown. "Congratulations, Mrs. they said. "You are now majority shareholder, valuation over 12 billion confirmed." My hand trembled beneath the desk but my voice was steel, "Thank you." Even my doctor told me to rest, but I only laughed at the irony. Later that night I heard them again in the hallway. Jeff's voice low with triumph and Jane's playful. "She signed," he said, "everything is done, she's out of my life for good finally." Jane laughed, "My dress is ready, in 2 weeks we'll be married, this is our fresh start." Jeff hushed her, saying, "Keep it quiet, her family might fight back, we need no mess." But Jane's voice was sly and sharp. "Are you sure she has nothing left for you?" He grunted about the prenup, but her scoff echoed like a curse in the corridor. My tears fell quietly but my heart grew cold as steel under moonlight. No more illusions. The next morning I called my lawyer, "Move all assets into my name, freeze every joint card now." "Are you sure?" he asked, and my voice was colder than ice, "I'm sure." I texted Ruth, "No more tears, bring my clothes, I'm leaving today." By afternoon the hospital released me though Mama begged. I can't heal here, Mama. Not in this cage. Cameras flashed outside but I walked tall, head high, not as wife but as survivor. Home was no longer home when I walked through its doors. Perfume I didn't wear still lingered. Half the closet was empty. Jeff's things gone like a thief clearing out pieces of my heart. I sat on the bed that once carried laughter and now smelled of betrayal soaked into its sheets. Opening my laptop I stared at my accounts and saw the truth. 12 billion sparkling untouched. Jeff's name was nowhere, not even in shadows, only mine written in bold letters of survival. I posted one message online. Sometimes storms show you the bridges worth burning. Messages poured in like rain on dry ground, some in shock, some in admiration, some in whispers. I ignored them all, packed a small bag, and called a cab that carried me to silence. No longer my house, just a building filled with ghosts of what I once called love. At the hotel I ordered food and ate every bite, every swallow tasting like freedom and grief. Under the shower I let the water carry away sorrow and lies, letting skin meet truth. That night I whispered to the darkness, Let them have their lies, I'll have my future. 2 days later I woke before dawn, my chest still aching but my spirit sharpening into steel. I let myself feel the anger, the shame, the humiliation, then folded them into a box and locked it. Standing before the mirror I saw not a victim but a survivor, red-rimmed eyes yet unbroken. If I could build an empire from nothing, I could rebuild myself from ruins Jeff left behind. By 7 o'clock I wore sharp trousers and a blazer, wore paint of women who refused to lose. I called Ruth, I'm going in, and her voice trembled, are you sure? I smiled for the first time since the hospital, not proving anything but reclaiming everything I lost. When I entered the company lobby, whispers chased me but I walked straight, head high like a queen. Security stared in shock. Mrs. You're back, he muttered, but I silenced gossip with one wave. My office overflowed with flowers and notes, sympathy and congratulations tangled in colors I barely noticed. Ruth arrived with coffee and files, her eyes proud and fierce like a sister ready for battle. We worked all morning, and the board saw I wasn't broken, I was dangerous. Meanwhile, Jeff and Jane flaunted their betrayal online. Photos at restaurants, Jane flashing a diamond ring. They smiled like winners, but shadows were gathering fast around the life they thought they had stolen. Jeff's business began cracking. Deals slipped through fingers. Old debts returned hungry for repayment without mercy. Jane filled her days with shopping and vanity. Yet at night she scrolled through my rising fame. Every headline of my billion-dollar victory stung her pride and deepened her envy into poison. She whispered to herself in bitterness, Amara's just lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. Back at work I moved with purpose, restructuring teams and raising women once overlooked into positions of power. I made calls to allies I had earned through sweat, and doors opened wide to my voice. Invitations flooded, galas, panels, fundraisers, but I chose carefully. Never gossip, only respect. At a women's summit I stood on stage, eyes bright and voice steady, speaking of resilience, not revenge. We are not defined by what others do but by what we do next, I told them. The applause thundered, and messages poured from young women saying, You inspire me, how do I survive? I replied to each one because I knew their pain, the hollow echo of betrayal inside a chest. Meanwhile Jane grew restless, scrolling through pictures of me smiling with leaders and stars she'd never meet. She wanted more, but Jeff's mood soured as creditors circled and his patience snapped like glass. They lived in a penthouse colder than ice, the walls whispering with debts unpaid and friends disappearing. When Jane suggested a grand engagement party, every venue turned them away. No sponsor wanted their shame. Jeff told her to keep quiet, but she bristled, anger curling like smoke between them. The next morning Jeff woke to emails like gunshots. Investors pulling out, accounts drying faster than wells. Panic clawed his throat and he called every number he knew, but silence answered each one. Jane watched him pacing, her envy now mixed with fear, and she demanded answers he couldn't give. He snapped at her, everything's falling apart, are you happy now? And she recoiled in disgust. Don't blame me, she spat, you wanted this, you chased it, and now you drown. Jeff stormed out, slamming the door, leaving Jane staring at cracks spreading across their fragile empire. That night Ruth came to my hotel with wine, raising a glass to survival and to reinvention. We laughed between sips, but beneath my laughter was a steel resolve sharper than any blade. My lawyer called again. Jeff's company is about to default on a massive loan, you're secure. I felt sadness like a brief shadow for the man I once loved, but I didn't waver. Thank you, I told him, make sure none of my assets are touched by his downfall. Ruth grinned, now let's toast again, and I smiled, to freedom that tastes like wine. Within a week my story spread wider than fire. Interviews requested, magazines calling, talk shows begging my voice. I chose wisely, never tabloids. Only platforms that respected pain turned into purpose, not gossip. Each time I refused to mention Jeff's name, my story wasn't about him, it was about rising. I said to the world, it's not revenge, it's knowing your worth when others try to steal it. People loved me for it, but whispers reached Jeff and Jane as invitations vanished into silence. Their friends vanished too, and for the first time Jane tasted the loneliness she gave me. Jane confronted Jeff one evening, her face twisted with anger as the lights of the penthouse flickered. "Why aren't you fighting? Why are you letting everything slip?" she shouted, her voice sharp as glass. Jeff's face collapsed under the weight of truth. "I tried. Without you they see me as nothing. They think I'm reckless, they think I'm a joke," he whispered, and her lips curled in disgust. "Maybe you are," she spat, the words sinking into him like knives. That night their laughter died, replaced by silence that made the walls groan like mourning spirits. While they drowned in bitterness, I attended a charity gala, my first grand public step since the storm. I wore an emerald gown that caught every light, each step echoing strength I once begged for. The room filled with leaders, artists, and dreamers, all clapping not for gossip but for resilience. "Thank you," I said softly, "for supporting not just me but women who refuse to remain broken." The applause shook the hall. Women whispered courage into my ears. Men nodded with humbled respect. For the first time I felt the fire of victory without needing revenge. At 9 o'clock the doors opened and whispers ran like wind. Jeff and Jane had entered the gala. They wore expensive smiles, but the crowd's indifference cut deeper than any insult could have. No one turned to greet them, no cameras flashed. They were ghosts walking among the living. Jeff's eyes found me across the room, but for the first time I felt nothing at all. No anger, no love, no pity, only silence that freed me from chains of the past. Jane clutched his arm, but even her diamond ring could not hide the emptiness inside. When the lights dimmed I took the stage, my words simple yet sharper than any sword of revenge. "There's a lie that women are only as strong as the men beside them," I began. "I believed that once, but strength is born the moment you're left standing alone in ashes. I am not here because heartbreak spared me. I am here because I survived it and rose." The applause was thunder, some eyes wet with tears, hearts swelling with courage that outshone betrayal. Jeff bowed his head, Jane turned away, but my voice echoed far beyond that hall. I announced the Rise Again initiative, every dollar raised helping women leave controlling love and find dignity. The hall erupted in cheers, and I felt a peace that tasted sweeter than any revenge. Reporters swarmed for words, but I smiled and walked past, my silence saying more than noise. Later, as the hall emptied, Jeff approached, his eyes hollow, his hands trembling like leaves in wind. "Please, can we talk?" he begged, desperation dripping from his tongue like sweat in heat. I nodded to security and let him speak, because I feared nothing anymore. We sat beneath a chandelier's cold light, his voice soft and broken like a child seeking mercy. "I made mistakes," he said. "I let greed poison me. Jane isn't what I thought. Everything's gone, she's leaving, my business is dust. I've lost it all, including you." "Why are you here, Jeff?" I asked, "for closure or because you want saving again?" "Both," he whispered. "Please help me, my rent, my debts, I can't breathe without your hand." I studied him and realized pity is not the same as love, it is freedom's key. I reminded him how I built him when no one else believed, how I gave until empty. "You repaid me with betrayal," I said firmly. "I will not carry your weakness anymore." His eyes brimmed with tears, but my heart was stone-carved by nights of sorrow. Before I walked away he grabbed my arm. "Wait, there's something I never told you." His voice dropped. "My father made me gamble away money. I was desperate, I thought I could win back." I shook my head. "Your weakness is not my burden," I said, and walked away. As I returned, Jane appeared in my path, her eyes wet, her face twisted with regret. "Amara, I never meant to hurt you," she pleaded. "Jeff lied to us both, help me please." I looked at her, cool and steady. "Kindness isn't enabling destruction, find your own way out." "My way was hard, yours will be too," I said, turning my back without guilt. Her sobs faded into the crowd while I stood tall in heels that no longer wobbled. By midnight the gala ended with millions raised and my reputation carved into stone. The next day headlines flamed like sunrise. Amara triumphs at charity gala. Ex-husband and mistress humiliated. I ignored them because victory wasn't about shame. It was about breathing without chains again. Jeff's downfall was written in unpaid debts. Jane's bitterness in her silence as friends abandoned. Meanwhile, my office filled with new opportunities, partnerships and projects pouring like rivers after long drought. Mama called me each morning, her voice proud and full of blessings sweeter than any crown. For the first time, my reflection looked like the woman my grandmother prayed I would be. I poured myself into the Rise Again initiative, meeting women who carried scars unseen but burning still. Their stories broke my heart and mended it at once, reminding me pain can birth power. Each hand I held, each tear I wiped, was a mirror of what I survived. I promised them new beginnings, not as savior but as sister who knows the taste of betrayal. Cameras followed me, but I didn't care. What mattered were the voices that now believed. And every night I slept sound knowing storms do not end us, they reveal us. News of Jeff's collapse spread fast, creditors at his door. His penthouse stripped of glamour overnight. Jane's diamond ring became a chain. Her smile vanished as whispers chased her through empty halls. He called me once more. His voice cracked like a dry river begging for one last chance. I listened but gave silence. A silence sharper than rejection, heavier than scorn. He learned then that betrayal costs more than love ever will. Jane left him soon after, carrying only bitterness and a bag of regrets. My company flourished, each project a seed planted in the soil of resilience watered by pain. I traveled, spoke on stages, and built programs for women who thought their stories had ended. Mama stood beside me at events, her eyes bright with pride, her hands never letting go. Ruth laughed often, saying I had become proof that ashes can glow brighter than gold. Everywhere I went, women whispered, "Thank you for showing us survival is possible," and I believed them. Their voices healed me more than wealth ever could, more than Jeff's apology ever would. One evening I walked alone through quiet streets, the city lights twinkling like prayers in the dark. I remembered Jeff's smile, his lies, Jane's laughter, and my tears soaking into hospital pillows. Yet instead of pain, I felt peace wrapping me in a garment woven from truth. I whispered to myself, betrayal did not end me, it freed me, it carved my destiny. My grandmother's proverb returned again, when the moon sees what the sun cannot, truth shines. And that night the moon's glow felt like a crown on my head. The Rise Again initiative grew beyond my dreams, raising millions for women abandoned, beaten or silenced. I met queens without crowns, fighters without swords, survivors without applause, each one a sister. Together we built houses, scholarships and businesses, lifting voices too long drowned in fear. At every event I reminded them, storms do not destroy us, they reveal our hidden strength. My words became fire in their bones, courage in their steps, light in their nights. I had become what I once needed, the proof that new beginnings rise from ruins. Looking back now I smile, not at Jeff's downfall or Jane's shame, but at my own rebirth. I lost love but gained freedom, I lost illusions but gained truth, I lost pain but gained power. My 12 billion deal was more than money, it was a door to purpose wide open. Betrayal may have broken my heart, but it forged my spirit into something unshakable. I tell you this as your sister, when life burns your bridges, let it, for wings will grow. And as I stand today, I know storms never end us, they only reveal us.